Hey there friends, thanks for checking in. One of the things that I haven't done too much on this channel are historic rifles, and I've got a bunch of them here today. We're going to talk about 3 rifles. Many of you will know about it, many of you may not, but I've got an expert here who owns these rifles. He's going to talk about it. We're going to bring him on shortly, but let's first introduce the rifles themselves. Here we have a Russian SVT-40. Get a load of that. And these are all in amazing conditions. Here we have a German G43 and something that many of you are familiar with, and that is the US M1 Garand. I'm going to bring Dean in here to talk more about it. I think you're going to like the content in this video, and I am sure that you'll be impressed with these rifles. Let's get going. Here we are with Dean. He owns these rifles. He is an expert on historical rifles with military backgrounds in many cases, and he really knows his stuff. We're going to add some more of this to the channel. I think it's going to be exciting and something you guys are really going to enjoy. Thanks for joining me here.
How are you doing today?
Good, and especially thanks for sharing your rifles and many handguns in the future with the viewers of this channel. Dean runs a gun show in Taylor, Michigan. Why don't you just take a minute and talk about that?
Yeah, I run a gun show. It's mostly good old boys and lots of things, you know, lots of cowboy type stuff, lots of military guns, and it's just a nice little show here in Taylor. Just something fun to go to and see interesting things.
Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the description box below to his Facebook page. Check it out, and you'll be able to see firearms like this. Dean, will you go through some of these and let us know some of the details of each of these 3 rifles?
Sure. During World War II, combat was severe, so the militaries opted to go for more semi-automatic type rifles. All 3 of these weapons are semi-automatic and used by the Axis and the Allies forces. The top one is the Russian SVT-40, shoots the 7.62 by 54R round. The next one is the German G43, shoots the standard 8mm round. And this one here is the M1 Garand, shoots the US 30 caliber 06 round. This is your standard AK-47 SKS 7.62 by 39 round.
All right, so we can see that these people, when they went to combat with these, they weren't there to play around. They were there one shot, one kill.
Yes, these are battle rifles. These are not carbines. These here are not. These here were for shooting 1,000 yards, standing and shooting 1,000 yards at each other. Not for. They were used in the cities, but they weren't like the assault rifles that people associate today. And that's a technical term because these assaulted many people. These here are weapons that were used during the conflict.
All right, let's talk about that SVT-40.
Yes, sir. The SVT-40, there was a fully automatic version that came out before this. This is the semi-automatic version. Magazine's almost always on military rifles. The bolt stays back on empty. It's a lot lighter than the other ones. I enjoy shooting it. Hopefully we'll see that in the future.
And I did notice that it was lighter than the other 2, quite a bit actually. All right, so what do we have there, the G43?
This is the G43. The Germans started developing the G43 at the outbreak of the war. They did a couple different things that didn't work out real well. They captured some of these SVT-40s and used a similar gas system as the SVT-40 when they came out with this G43 rifle. It has a small scope on it, a 4-power scope, and it was used for sniping and just support type missions.
One of the things that I noticed is that scope mount is so much heavier built than the mounts today.
Yeah, the scopes are made to come off easily for the combat troops so that they could take them off in the battle and replace them. And the mount has to be heavy so that they can replace it and use it. The gun has full sights on it, even though the scope is off, so you can use it in combat.
All right, let's talk about that M1 Garand.
The M1 Garand, everybody knows the M1 Garand. US made, Springfield, 30-06. They used the 30-06, came out in 1906 in the 1903 Springfield rifle. Just a beautiful weapon, fun to shoot, and speaks for itself.
It does speak for itself. I know a lot of people love that rifle. Many have them today, but the other 2, they don't see too often. You don't see too many people that have those. Can you explain
what you were telling me off camera, and that is that those top two, the SVT-40 and the G43, are competition. They were Russia and Germany's answer to the M1 Garand.
They were using bolt-action rifles, as we used bolt-action rifles too, but the M1 Garand came out in 1936, so they were hurrying to catch up to the M1 Garand. And these rifles here are battlefield captures. So these here are guns that our guys captured and brought back. So you don't see them. These here are guns that were already in the country. So you don't see the stuff that was brought back by our troops like you do the stuff that was here naturally. So you don't see them because they didn't survive. I mean, not a lot of guys brought them back. They weren't supposed to, per se. Some of them were brought back, but lots of them were put in duffel bags and just hustled back. So you don't see a lot of them, and that's just
how it is, isn't it?
Just how it is. I mean, try finding them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Which one's your favorite?
To go out, I love them all. I mean, they all talk to me, and that's the thing about the history in these, is that they'll talk to you, you know. The vet that brought them back, the guy that carried them in the war, it's just history. As far as going out and shooting, I do not know what is about this SVT. It just, you pick it up, and it's like holding a fine lady, man. I mean, it's just got lines to it that the others don't. It just doesn't seem as clunky as the other ones. It kicks hard because it's a lighter rifle than the other ones, but it feels different. And
I would agree with that. When I was holding each of those, that had a certain feel to it. I don't know if it was the weight or the ergos behind it, but it was
it's
phenomenal.
Got a feminine feel to it, you know. To me, I don't, you know, not that it's a lady, you know, but it's just got a real. It's got a different feel than the other ones, and I don't know what it is, and it's a fine shooting weapon.
Okay, all right, you're giving me some cues to describe rifles in the future. I love it. All right, what do you like about that G43?
The G43, just the fact that the Germans come out with the G41, which used a gas trap type system like our 1919 A4s, and it didn't work really well. So they captured some of these SVT-40s. And this has the same similar type action as the AK-47, where it's got a gas tube here. This has a gas tube in here and a piston that blows the bolt back and works the same way. Whereas the M1 Garand, the piston is actually on this rod and runs up and sits inside this tube here. So this works a little bit different, but they're piston-driven guns, all three of them.
Well, there you go, guys. I told you they would be outstanding rifles, and the best part about it is Dean and I are going to hit the range, shoot these, and give you guys some live shooting impressions as to how well these perform and the differences between the ammo. Dean, great job with explaining these rifles. Thanks for letting me feature them on the channel.
Wait till you see the stuff we got gonna come.
We have some exciting stuff coming, no question about it. So stay tuned for that. And also, if you're from Michigan, check out the description. I got a Facebook link there. They'll take you to Dean's Gun Show. You can see this kind of stuff and a lot more. Anything else to say?
Nope.
That's about it. All right. I appreciate you watching, and you guys be safe.